You guys had a great morning. Of course, I'd like to warmly welcome each of you here today at the launch of the National E-Commerce Strategy for Trinidad and Tobago 2025 to 2030. And I now invite everyone to please turn your attention to the screen, actually to just listen, not screen, to listen to the safety briefing for the Hilton Trinidad and Tobago Conference Center.
On behalf of management and team members, allow me to welcome you to Hilton Trinidad and Conference Center. Our evacuation procedure for this area in the event of an emergency is as follows. The hotel is protected by both a manual and automatic fire alarm detection system. If activation occurs, you will hear this evacuation message.
Attention, attention, an emergency has been reported in this building. Attention, attention. An emergency has been reported in this building.
The message will inform you that an emergency has occurred and you should stand by for further instructions. You will be advised subsequently by another message whether you should evacuate or the emergency has been rectified. In the event you are advised to evacuate the ballroom area, please follow the following evacuation routes. Primary evacuation route. Exit north along Ballroom Corridor and exit the Ballroom Corridor area completely and continue until you reach the Pool Junction staircase on your right to Car Park and follow the directional signs to the first level North Car Park at the muster point. Secondary evacuation route. Exit west through Belmont Saloon, exit doors down the emergency staircase on your left and follow directional signs to the muster point on the Employees Roadway. At the evacuation assembly point, you will stand by for further instructions from our risk management department, who will account for all participants together with the organizers of this event. You will not be allowed to re-enter the building until the all clear signal has been given by the fire services or our risk management department. I do hope that your time spent here would be meaningful and uneventful. We wish all a very pleasant, safe, and productive event.
Thank you very much. And at the end of today's proceedings, we will have a safety briefing quiz. So I hope you all got everything. Hope you guys remembered. All right. Friends, I want to invite you to please stand for the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much. You may be seated. So again, good morning and welcome to the launch of the National E-Commerce Strategy for Trinidad and Tobago 2025 to 2030. My name is Ansel Blaze Isaac Jr. I will be your host this morning, and today marks a significant milestone in the economic landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. So we say good morning to Senator, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, Paula Gopi-Schoon, the Honorable Stephen McClatchy, Minister of Labor, the Honorable Brian Manning, Minister in the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Digital Transformation, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Head United Nations Resident Coordinator Office, Ms. Tracy Hutchinson, Mr. Dorian Noel, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Rodney Taylor, Secretary General, Caribbean Telecommunications Union, Mr. Corey Belfort, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Digital Transformation, Mr. Randall Karim, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and other permanent secretaries, Ms. Eva Mehabir Das, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ms. Inga Hodge, UNCTAD, Ms. Franca Sestilo, Chairman, Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, Mr. Kurt Hills, President of FinTech Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Nurse, President of COSTAT, Ms. Dawn Nelson, Vice President of the Trinidad and Tobago International Financial Center, Ms. Phyllis Morrow, Vice President of Eurocham TT, Dr. Inshan Mijon, Chief Executive Officer of iGov TT, Mr. Mariano Brown, CEO of the UE Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Now, many present today were an integral part of the stakeholder sessions, which informed the development of this strategy, friends. And the National E-Commerce Strategy establishes a collaborative framework between the government, private sector, and civil society to promote e-commerce across Trinidad and Tobago. I think that deserves a round of applause because that is, of course, stepping into our first world status right there, my friends. It also aims to extend and expand customer access to a wider range of goods and services and help merchants reach broader, even international markets. Additionally, the strategy encourages business to use ICT to enhance supply chain management, and it is designed to help the government leverage technology for economic development by diversifying the economy, creating jobs, and increasing trade. So a significant collaborator and contributor to this strategy is the United Nations Resident Coordinator's Office. They've been instrumental in bringing together the development partners and international organizations throughout the development of the strategy to remove silos, avoid duplication, and discuss areas of interest and possible collaboration. So in a nutshell, it cuts down red tape and bureaucracy. And of course, to bring remarks to you this morning, we invite Head, United Nations Resident Coordinator Office. Let's welcome with a round of applause, Ms. Tracy Hutchinson.
Senator, the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, Paula Gopi-Schoon, the Honorable Stephen McClashy, Minister of Labor, the Honorable Brian Manning, Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Digital Transformation, Dr. Dorian Nowell, Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Randall Kareem, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Trade and Industry, and other permanent secretaries from line ministries, Ambassador Peter Cavendish, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, and other members of the Diplomatic Corps, Head of UN organizations, special invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great pleasure to be here for the launch of Trinidad and Tobago's National E-Commerce Strategy 2025-2030. The UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Joanna Kazana, is not able to participate due to conflicting events on her schedule, and I am pleased to deliver her address. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, congratulations. Congratulations to the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Her Excellency, Minister Paula Gopi-Schoon, on this initiative. Without your leadership and engagement in preparation of the strategy, we would not be seeing the result today. I would like to congratulate our technical team from UNCTAD and the national experts who worked over the last year to prepare the strategy. Secondly, let me say, this e-commerce strategy is a landmark step and achievement for Trinidad and Tobago. In a country that can benefit from greater economic diversification and growth of SMEs, e-commerce sets the foundation for a more competitive, digitally driven market, reinforcing the country's commitment to sustainable economic transformation and digital inclusion. The UN's support in preparation of this strategy is anchored in the United Nations Multi-Country Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for the Caribbean, and more recently, in the Secretary General's Pact for the Future and Global Digital Compact, adopted by heads of states and governments in 2024. Objective 2 of the Digital Compact is expanding inclusion in the digital economy. In the Digital Compact, member states agreed that widening the opportunities for inclusion requires an enabling policy, legal, and regulatory environment that supports innovation, nurtures digital talent and skills, and promotes digital entrepreneurship. Such environments at international and national levels support investment and the voluntary transfer of digital technologies on mutually agreed terms for developing countries. We are delighted that the strategy takes Trinidad and Tobago in exactly that direction and is built around 4 key pillars: fostering a robust legal and regulatory framework, enhancing e-commerce awareness and related skills, enabling business growth and competitiveness through e-commerce, and streamlining trade and logistics to support e-commerce operations. Each of these pillars represents opportunities for collaboration and investment, ensuring that Trinidad and Tobago remains at the forefront of digital trade in the Caribbean. And perhaps more importantly, this strategy is not just about technology, it is about people. A critical component is ensuring that all citizens, especially women, youth, persons with disabilities, and rural communities, have the skills, tools, and access to participate fully in the digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, as our moderator noted, international partnership and cooperation are key. And from the point of view of the UN system in Trinidad and Tobago, I dare say we are not just supporting digitalization, we are all working together as architects for a digitally inclusive, economically resilient, and innovation-driven future, aligned with both national priorities, Vision 2030, and the Sustainable Development Goals, and the National Digital Transformation Strategy 2024-2027. And we do so on many fronts. In addition to the important work of UNCTAD, represented here today, last year, in 2024, UN agencies have worked also on a range of other digital initiatives, which I would like to briefly mention today. Through the UN Capital Development Fund, projects supported by the EU, we contributed to financial inclusion and digital payments, supported the National Financial Inclusion Survey, and worked very closely with the Central Bank to improve the e-money framework, making digital payments more accessible for MSMEs and vulnerable groups. We worked also to promote smart agriculture and saw FAO and UNCDF introduce digital farm applications, pack house systems, and the AgriConnect platform, linking small farmers directly to buyers and markets. In partnership with the Government of India and the Global South Cooperation Trust Fund and the Government of Trinidad and Tobago, we contributed to health tech. Many of you saw last year results of the PAHO WHO project with the Ministry of Health, which introduced health service robots in hospitals, while UN Population Fund digitized pharmacy inventory through a logistical management information system. With funding from the Global Joint SDG Fund, where we count with the contribution of many member states, in particular Spain, Sweden, the EU, Netherlands, Germany, as top contributors, we helped advance availability of data and digital governance by supporting creation of a national data architecture. The UN also joined hands with parliamentarians in organizing a parliamentary masterclass on AI to enhance policymaking. UN agencies empowered the national youth parliamentarians to debate AI in the classroom and provide laptop tablets to migrant children to close the digital divide. And through the efforts and partnership of the UN Development Programme, we consolidated regional collaboration and leadership with the Government of Trinidad and Tobago, hosting the SIDS 2.0 Digital Transformation Conference, shaping regional strategies for small island states. These initiatives illustrate the UN's ongoing commitment to strengthening Trinidad and Tobago's digital ecosystem. Using this opportunity, I would like to acknowledge all national and international development partners and donors which make the digital cooperation agenda such a dynamic and robust area of cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of the e-commerce strategy marks the beginning of a transformative journey. Its success will require continued close collaboration between the government, private sector, civil society, and international partners. The UN remains steadfast in its support, working alongside all stakeholders to ensure that the strategy translates into tangible benefits for businesses and citizens alike. In this connection, later today, the UN Office of the Resident Coordinator will convene a Development Partners Roundtable, which will bring together representatives of the government and the Ministry of Trade and Industry and international partners to encourage collaborative efforts for the strategy's successful implementation. Trinidad and Tobago has the potential to become a regional leader in digital trade. The strategy is the first of its kind in the Caribbean region. Congratulations again. We are delighted to be part of this process to make sure that by embracing e-commerce, the country is future-proofing its economy, enhancing global competitiveness, and fostering sustainable development. Let us seize this opportunity to build an inclusive, resilient, thriving digital economy for all. I thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hutchinson. And she said it's the first of its kind in the Caribbean. I think that deserves a round of applause. Yeah. And we also had a good night at football last night, so I think that deserves a round of applause. We're into the CONCACAF group stage. Well done, Dwight York and the gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, as a focal point within the UN system for the integrated treatment of trade and development and interrelated issues, UNCTAD is uniquely placed to address the cross-cutting development implications of e-commerce and the digital economy. Now, with the successful launch of the UNCTAD-led E-Trade for All initiative in 2016 and the annual multi-stakeholder e-commerce week, the Intergovernmental Group of Experts on E-commerce and the Digital Economy, the Digital Economy Report, and a range of technical assistance projects, UNCTAD has acquired a leadership role in the area of e-commerce and the digital economy for development through its three pillars of work: research and analysis, technical cooperation, and consensus building. UNCTAD has been instrumental in completing our national e-commerce strategy. And to deliver short remarks virtually as the Secretary General of the UN Trade and Development UNCTAD, Ms. Rebecca Greispan, I invite you to turn your attention, friends, to the screen.
Your Excellency, Ms. Paula Gopi Skun, Minister of Trade and Industry, Ms. Joanna Casana, UN Resident Coordinator, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It is a pleasure to address you virtually today for the launch of the Trinidad and Tobago's e-commerce strategy. Trinidad and Tobago is the first country in the Caribbean to have developed a comprehensive e-commerce strategy. And this is an important milestone. And I want to commend the leadership and vision of the Ministry of Trade and Industry in spearheading this transformative effort, as well as the strong collaboration across government, businesses, university representative, the UN country team development partners in shaping this strategy. I also want to thank my team at UNCTAD for their exceptional commitment. I am honored that UNCTAD has played such a role in making this milestone possible. As a pioneer, Trinidad and Tobago has now both a privilege and a responsibility. A privilege because Trinidad and Tobago is at a remarkable point of transformation. With one 148 mobile subscriptions per 100 people, one of the highest rates in the world, and nearly universal internet access across households. You have built the essential infrastructure for digital transformation. This connectivity, combined with impressive digital literacy rates, strong ICT skills, and a large consumer market, forms a solid foundation upon which to build a thriving digital economy, accelerating growth and job creation. But it is also a responsibility because many of the development challenges of the future, how to create quality jobs, how to diversify economies beyond manufacturing, how to leverage digital trade to overcome traditional geographical boundaries, that will be decided in the digital realm. And Trinidad and Tobago, as a Caribbean small island developing state, is thus given the immense task of charting a course that others may follow. But to do so will require addressing the challenges facing the country's digital ecosystem, especially the fact that most transactions take place in foreign marketplaces and that online payments are still expensive for some small businesses and women, youth, and rural entrepreneurs. Because at the end, inclusivity sits at the heart of this strategy. And this for a fundamental reason. I often say that a central paradox of our world today is that we have economies where technology is moving fast, but growth is moving slow. As Solow once said, and I quote, "The digital age is evident everywhere, but in GDP statistics. These lags and gaps create tensions and huge opportunity costs." In this sense, the greatest promise of the digital economy is not at the cutting edge of science, it is at the edges of exclusion, where it reaches the rural entrepreneur, the informal worker, and the underserved, turning their struggles into opportunities and their potential into progress. So our strategy is centered on 4 key pillars. 1, strengthening legal and regulatory framework. 2, enhancing e-commerce awareness and digital skills. 3, fostering business growth and competitiveness. And finally, streaming trade and logistics. Excellencies, we look forward to seeing the tangible benefits this strategy will bring to the economy and the society as a whole. I extend to the country and people of Trinidad and Tobago our enduring friendship, trust, and support in the implementation of this strategy. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Greenspan, for your great remarks. And ladies and gentlemen, to present the National E-Commerce Strategy of Trinidad and Tobago 2025-2030, I'd like you guys to welcome Mrs. Candice Lakan Singh, Director, Strategy, Business Facilitation, and Program Management in the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today we launched the National E-Commerce Strategy for Trinidad and Tobago. And that video you saw, it showed what it would be like in a seamless e-commerce environment. We saw a young entrepreneur growing her digital store, a farmer using e-commerce to sell directly to restaurants, a student building a tech startup, an elderly person being shown how to use an app-based system, AI driving logistics, driving transactions. It shows e-commerce anytime, anywhere, for everyone. But behind this seamless system, there are legislation and regulations governing. There's the understanding of e-commerce built through awareness and skills. Behind what we just saw, there's the widespread adoption of digital payments. There's also the robust trade and logistics infrastructure and system. And today we're here to launch a competitive strategy that sets out activities that must be accomplished to achieve the right e-commerce ecosystem. And this is what the National E-Commerce Strategy for Trinidad and Tobago is about. I know many of you in here have used e-commerce and you're aware of what it is, but there are many definitions of e-commerce. And for the purpose of this strategy, this was the definition used today: the sale or purchase of goods or services conducted over computer networks by methods specifically designed for the purpose of receiving or placing orders. So to break that down, when we speak of the scope of e-commerce, we're speaking about the nature of the transaction, how the transaction is conducted, who can be a party to this transaction, how are the orders placed, and how are goods and services delivered. How did we go about developing this strategy? Well, I'm sure that every stakeholder in this room has participated actively in over 5 stakeholder sessions in less than 1 year. And even though we are moving at a high speed, we are aware that the landscape for e-commerce is continuously changing. Through the excellent collaboration and partnership with UNCTAD, so Ina, Martin, Iris, our consultants, David and Tira, the ministry's team, Melissa, Simi, Permanent Secretary, Deputy Permanent Secretary, all driven by our esteemed Minister of Trade and Industry, all our stakeholders in this room, you contributed actively and timely, and some of us very honestly, maybe a little too honest, but it was good, very, very helpful to produce the comprehensive strategy that is being launched here today. And I ask you all to give yourselves a round of applause. The first phase was the development of an ET readiness assessment. This readiness assessment is an in-depth situational analysis of the current e-commerce environment. It identified barriers and opportunities. So it looked at 7 areas, whether it be existing e-commerce strategies, ICT infrastructure, payment solutions, legal frameworks, trade, logistics and facilitation, skills development, and financing SMEs. And indeed, there were some very, very notable strengths: a strong digital infrastructure, widespread mobile internet access, the recent launch of the National Digital Transformation Strategy, and the TTIFC's Financial Inclusion Survey. So we have a very, very good head start. However, of course, there are challenges that remain: interagency coordination, interoperability between systems, payment options, the level of confidence and trust in the e-commerce ecosystem. Therefore, what this strategy does is it builds on the results of the comprehensive ET readiness assessment, both the opportunities as well as the challenges. What is more is that it is aligned to our Vision 2030, our existing trade policy and our upcoming trade policy, and the National Digital Transformation Strategy. So there's no duplication. These policies all work in tandem. And that is the aim that we've arrived at to the mission, where Bearing all in mind that we just mentioned, the document was not really meant to duplicate, but visualize what do we want e-commerce to look like in Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore the vision is, enables businesses in Trinidad and Tobago to extend their access to domestic and foreign markets and improve the efficiency of their sales and purchasing processes. It also enables consumers and the government to access a more diverse range of merchants and products with confidence. And therefore, the mission of the strategy will be to create and maintain an enabling environment that facilitates and promotes the use of e-commerce in Trinidad and Tobago for domestic and international markets. You heard it several times in the previous addresses, but of course, our strategy is based on 4 main strategic goals. As I mentioned at the video at the start, fostering and maintaining legal and regulatory development for e-commerce, developing e-commerce awareness and skills for a competitive digital economy, enabling business growth and competitiveness through e-commerce adoption, and streamlining trade and logistics to support efficient and scalable e-commerce operations. The factors required to build a seamless e-commerce system. And we'll go briefly into each one of them. There are 4 main words that stood out under this first strategic goal related to the legal and regulatory development of e-commerce. Awareness. Everyone understands the laws. Yes? No. They understand, lawyers do, but do we understand what it means for us? How are we protected? The merchants, the consumers, the citizens. Is it enforced? Is it consistently applied? And the big one that came out in all stakeholder consultations, trust. We must feel so comfortable with the laws and regulations that govern, for example, in cybersecurity, that we would want to put our credit card information into a secure website and utilize e-commerce. So these are the 4 main words that came out in our stakeholder consultations, and it's integrated into the strategy to be addressed. The strategic goal also covers very specific areas. 1, electronic transactions, setting up a cloud-based system to finance trade, e-commerce, logistics. Looking at training on the laws so that we can all understand. Financial inclusion, AI and intellectual property, automated contracting, smart contracts, data protection, cybersecurity, and consumer protection, right? We want to know that when we purchase an item via the medium, that we get the quality that we want. And if not, there's some sort of recourse that we can go through to get consumer protection. And so these are the main areas within this particular section that the strategy focuses. Second goal, building and developing awareness and skills for the competitive digital economy. Goal 2, training is considered in 2 levels. 1, for the consumers and businesses, and 2, at the government level. One of the urgent activities is to identify the skills gap. The Ministry of Labor is well represented today, and this is critical. This must be complemented also with the analysis of market trends. Where do we see the future of e-commerce? We must know what the gaps that exist, but we also know what is coming. So we can start nurturing. And that word nurturing is actually in the strategy. Because when we speak to nurturing awareness and expertise, it relates to all parts of society, respective of gender, location, age, disability, socioeconomic status. The strategy looks at adding introduction to e-commerce courses into the general curriculum, whether it be coding or programming, to develop your own websites and to start exposure at a very young age, much like these persons.
science.
I wrote a program to play tic-tac-toe.
I think it was pretty humble beginnings. I think the first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating, but what isn't?
See that early childhood introduction of topics such as coding and programming, they're critical to build that skill set. If I wanted to open a store today, I should be able to go and set up the website myself, or I should find the right pool of skills at a very reasonable cost to do so, to help me achieve it. The strategy will focus on the development of business skills, so it provides basic introduction and instruction for e-commerce, digital marketing, online consumer services. Now, where do we put all this knowledge? In the Knowledge Center. That will provide access to as much information as necessary. So, for instance, have anyone ever Googled, how do you create a chat box? There are 50 YouTube messages, how do you create a chat box? Which one is the right one? But having a knowledge center that you can go to with the appropriate videos, the appropriate instruction, can make it much easier for you to utilize e-commerce. The second tier discusses government capacity. We all know, as policymakers, the need for improved statistics to make decisions. We have joined the UNCTAD task group on measuring the values of e-commerce, which is working this out, because e-commerce may be goods and services movement, but just as difficult as it is to measure services, it is as difficult to measure e-commerce. And therefore, we must be on board, which we have been. As of last month, we've joined that group. And we are working with other developed and developing countries to build that capacity in our country, and to build that capacity with the Central Statistical Office, who's also a member on that. Our third goal, enabling growth and competitiveness through e-commerce. Well, Ministry of Trade and Industry, everything that we do is to enable growth, competitiveness, diversify into the non-energy sector. This is a critical goal under our strategy. Have integrated e-commerce systems, whether it be a low-cost cloud system, looking at logistics and payment systems, integrating that, banking, access to finance, MSMEs, SMEs, having bank accounts, having credit card access, digital payments. In the first video, did we see any cash? No, all digital transactions. So the strategy addresses how do we promote the widespread adoption of digital payments. It also includes an e-directory. For instance, we need this e-directory to have trust. So you want to purchase a shoe, you go to the e-directory, and here are all the reputable places, firms via e-commerce you can purchase this particular item, and feel that transparency and trust in those particular systems. The final strategic goal, streamlining trade and logistics to support efficient and scalable e-commerce. E-commerce involves the process to move relatively small value packages through customs, through the logistics system. In this strategy, we have a head start with the ongoing implementation of our port community system, the level of trade facilitation already provided by our TT BizLink portal, the implementation of the WTO trade facilitation agreement, of course, all excellent work being done by the Ministry of Trade and Industry. But this gets into addressing the need for improving regional cooperation in the context of e-commerce, the need to fulfill the services by e-commerce merchants. So for example, TT Post, and I know that TT Post is executing a lot of new services and offering a lot of new services, DHL, O-Deliver, all part of our stakeholder consultations, but how do we increase the access of the e-commerce merchants to rural communities, improve freight conditions, and how do we facilitate domestic packaging of products? Of course, all strategies must have a governance structure. And so from the Policy Directorate, under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and through the National E-Commerce Committee, whose members will be appointed today, this will form the governance structure of the e-commerce strategy. Implementation plan. At the back of the strategy, and I'm not sure how many of you did it, scanned our QR code and got a package with our agenda, our full strategy. If you don't have time, a brochure that can help you read that, and then also our ET readiness assessment. It's all there in the scanned QR codes that are around. At the back of that strategy is your implementation plan, because effective coordination amongst institutions and stakeholders is very crucial for maximizing policy impact and fostering that comprehensive understanding of e-commerce. Without that coordination, we can lead to duplication, having things happen in silos, reducing efficiencies. So attached is the implementation plan, and of course it covers these particular areas in terms of expected results, KPIs, responsible entities, timelines, and the resources required. Monitoring and evaluation. A full M&E plan will be developed, but we already have outcomes in 4 main strategic areas. So under the legal framework, for e-commerce, it is regularly reviewed and updated to meet current and future needs, ensuring public trust throughout, necessary safeguards, and clear communication. Under skills development, the nation has sufficient awareness and skills in e-commerce to benefit from the use of e-commerce privately, in business, and in the public sector. And so the outcomes are there under each particular strategy. Way forward. Well, of course, we've started already. We're moving full speed ahead. And therefore, we are appointing the e-commerce committee members today. We have a development partners meeting, and I see much of the development partners present here today, and we have a meeting this afternoon to discuss. We also have an e-reform tracker training, which will take place tomorrow. This is the M&E structure that has been designed by UNCTAD, which will be shared by us so that we can know the status of implementation of our e-commerce strategy at any time. And then we joined the UNCTAD group to learn how to measure e-commerce, and we will work with them to do that. So we are moving. The e-commerce strategy for Trinidad and Tobago is a comprehensive one. And we at the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, we are very excited to commence and to start implementing the strategy for the benefits of the citizens, the businesses, and the private sector of Trinidad and Tobago.
Imagine a future where Trinidad and Tobago is not just a participant in the digital economy, but a leader, a regional hub for e-commerce excellence, seamlessly connecting businesses, consumers, and global markets with cutting-edge technology and innovative policy support. Today, we stand at a pivotal moment in our digital evolution, one that requires vision, commitment, and decisive action. It's about shaping the future of commerce, business, and economic growth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lakan Singh. Very thorough, very exciting presentation. I think she deserves another round of applause. A lot of information inside there. And you'll have a quiz on that information a little bit later on at the end, all right? So friends, it is indeed was a very comprehensive framework for the development of e-commerce right here in Trinidad and Tobago. And as one of the frontline ministries with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we call it MTI, is leading the drive to position Trinidad and Tobago as a manufacturing base and the business, trade, and financial hub of the Americas. Now, championing the development of the e-commerce strategy is Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry. Of course, our minister recognizes the importance and the value of this strategy to propel our businesses in this global and ever-changing landscape. She has set very high standards and tight deadlines for this completion, and I now invite Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi-Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, to deliver the feature address. A round of applause.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And again, apologies for my late arrival. Let me recognize my colleague, the Honorable Stephen McClashy, Minister of Labour, and the head UN Resident Coordinator Office, Ms. Tracy Hutchinson, His Excellency Peter Cavendish, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, other members of the Diplomatic Corps, thank you for coming. Dr. Dorian Noel, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Rodney Taylor, Secretary General, Caribbean Telecommunications Union, Mr. Randall Karim, the Permanent Secretary, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Mr. Corey Belfour, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Digital Transformation, Eva Mahabir Das, DPS, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ms. Aina Hodge, UNCTAD, Dr. Keith Nurse, President of COSTAT. I think you're going to stop there and say, please accept the protocols already given. But all of you, especially invited guests, good morning. And I'm very pleased to be here this morning to officially launch Trinidad and Tobago's National E-Commerce Strategy for the period 2025-2030. Much has been said before, and I wish I was just perhaps cutting a ribbon, but here we go. So, as was said before, this is transformative. The strategy marks a transformative step in building a more robust digital environment and shaping the way business is conducted in Trinidad and Tobago, and of course it builds on their last e-commerce strategy, 2017-2021. Trinidad and Tobago has made significant strides in the e-commerce landscape during and particularly after the pandemic. Most noteworthy is the increase in micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises adopting e-commerce. And according to a study done by UNCTAD, e-commerce adoption among businesses in Latin America and the Caribbean has been on the rise, and as a result, the region has seen improvements in online shopping adoption. Several initiatives have significantly contributed to the growth of e-commerce over the years in Trinidad and Tobago, such as the increase in payment gateway options by local banks and expanded services by payment platforms, ensuring secure and reliable online payment processing services to businesses. Also, the introduction of Visa debit cards has enabled consumers to make online purchases using their local TT currency, simplifying the online shopping experience and promoting the use of local e-commerce platforms. Also contributing to this growth is a significant shift in consumer behavior in Trinidad and Tobago. Consumers are redirecting their shopping habits towards online purchases where there is variety and there is convenience. The government, recognizing the dynamic nature of the digital and e-commerce landscape, continues to embark on targeted initiatives to keep the country at the forefront of this ever-advancing environment. Last month, we saw the launch of the National Digital Transformation Strategy, taking us into 2027. And that complements this strategy as it speaks to harnessing a digital economy by leveraging an ecosystem which nurtures entrepreneurship and promotes social, macroeconomic, and environmental sustainability. As an aside, you would know that the IMF estimates that global e-commerce sales surpassed $5.8 trillion in 2023, with developing economies experiencing the fastest growth rates. And according to the World Economic Forum, the global digital economy is projected to reach $20 trillion by 2027. The Ministry of Trade and Industry has been working collaboratively with the UN Trade and Development to develop the National E-Commerce Strategy, and we did it in 12 months. We have delivered a comprehensive framework designed to position Trinidad and Tobago as a leader in the digital economy, one that will drive innovation, empower businesses, enhance consumer access, and ultimately pave the way for a more inclusive and globally competitive economy. This strategy, and it was said before, the first in the Caribbean developed by UNCTAD, is a robust document based on the sound results of an e-trade readiness assessment. And this assessment formed part of the methodology to develop the strategy and analyzed the 7 policy areas which are instrumental to e-commerce, and also identified gaps and opportunities for Trinidad and Tobago. It highlighted the areas in which Trinidad and Tobago has made significant progress, such as a robust digital infrastructure with a strong ICT sector, high mobile phone penetration and internet access, a well-established transport infrastructure by road, sea, and air, and the presence of supportive policies and orders in place to facilitate e-payments. The vision of the strategy is centered on achieving widespread adoption of e-commerce to enable businesses to extend their access to domestic and foreign markets and improve the efficiency of their sales and purchasing processes, and consumers and the government increase access to a more diverse range of merchants and products with confidence. Therefore, the overall strategic mission of the strategy is to create and maintain an enabling environment that facilitates and promotes the use of e-commerce in Trinidad and Tobago for domestic and international markets. This strategy describes a series of targeted initiatives across 4 strategic areas identified earlier. These are the focus areas to ensure Trinidad and Tobago is able to fully harness the potential of e-commerce. Continuing legal and regulatory development for e-commerce, and this will improve legal certainty and allow for further harmonization regarding electronic transactions, electronic contracts and signatures, cybersecurity, and data protection. It also supports cross-border e-commerce and allows for enhanced consumer protection for intellectual property as well. The second, developing e-commerce awareness and skills to ensure that the citizens, the businesses, and the private sector overall benefit. It is imperative that we have insights into e-commerce skills needs across all sectors, including through the collection of gender, age, location, rural, urban, and disability disaggregated data, as this allows for targeted policy reforms and support programs. Third, supporting business adoption by e-commerce by ensuring that e-payment and logistics services are integrated with low-cost cloud-based e-commerce shopping services. And this will encourage and assist MSMEs to set up bank accounts to facilitate increased use of digital payments. And that's an issue, and that's one of the things that I'm very focused on. And fourthly, enhancing trade facilitation and logistics to support e-commerce by improving the throughput of goods by customs and data exchange between customs administrations, and by improving the collection and delivery of small parcels in rural areas and reducing the packaging costs for MSMEs. We expect that the strategy will fuel a wave of entrepreneurship and business of innovation across Trinidad and Tobago, and open doors for small and medium-sized enterprises to create new revenue streams and scale their businesses in both the local and global markets. SME development and the creation of an enabling business environment remains a priority for this government. This is evidenced by the various grants and initiatives offered by the Ministry of Trade and Industry and through the Trinidad and Tobago Trade and Investment Promotion Agency. We got to get the acronym for this. And over the last 10 years, the government, I want to let you know this, that the government supported the growth and expansion of SMEs. And during this period, the ministry alone distributed 415 grants to SMEs, valued at $27.2 million under its 10 respective grant facilities. And this is only MTI. There's so many other ministries giving grant facilities and agencies as well to SMEs. The effective implementation of this strategy. And it's great to have a policy, but implementation is key. And that will ensure that Trinidad and Tobago is not left behind. It will lay the foundation for an e-commerce ecosystem that will unlock opportunities for businesses, entrepreneurs, and consumers alike. As recognized during the development of the strategy, the private sector, civil society, international partners, and academic institutions all have a critical role to play. And we intend to continue the close collaboration during the implementation phase. So today, we are not only launching the National E-commerce Strategy, but we are also moving swiftly ahead with implementation. Next on the agenda, we will install the National E-commerce Committee, formalizing this collaboration, co-chaired by the permanent secretaries of the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Digital Transformation. And this afternoon, we are convening a development partners meeting to discuss how we can work together on this initiative and the assistance available to commence implementation of the activities in the strategy. Tomorrow morning, UNCTAD will conduct the e-trade reform tracker training. That's tomorrow, the e-trade reform tracker training. The e-trade reform tracker is a platform developed by UNCTAD to support national e-commerce committees in coordinating the implementation and monitoring the activities of the strategy. So that, ladies and gentlemen, our focus is very clear: to position Trinidad and Tobago as a leader in e-commerce and digital trade. We are at the most exciting juncture of this strategy, where plans start to come to life, and today shows that this is officially underway. The strategy and the constitution of the committee, as well as immediate commencement of training, demonstrates the ministry's commitment towards economic growth and empowerment of our citizens. And as I close, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the UNCTAD team, who worked with consistency and dedication to deliver this strategy in the shortest time possible without compromising the robustness of the process. And a special thanks to you, the stakeholders, for your valuable contributions throughout the various development phases. The cohesive effort, expertise, and commitment have been invaluable in shaping this strategy and bringing it to fruition. And we look forward to continue to work with you to create a strong, inclusive, prosperous, and digitally connected economy that benefits all of our citizens, enhances our global competitiveness, and drives sustainable growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Paula Gopi, Senator, the Honorable Paula Gopi Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry. Thank you very much. It was very truly encouraging to hear that the government is committed to building a very strong, inclusive, prosperous, and digitally connected economy that benefits all of our citizens, enhances our global competitiveness, and drives sustainable growth. Now, friends, as mentioned, we're moving forward full speed ahead, just like a e-commerce transaction. At this time, we would like to present the members of the National E-commerce Committee with their letters of appointment. This committee is tasked with a very important role of overseeing the implementation of the strategy. And at this time, I would like to invite back on stage Senator the Honorable Paula Gopi Schoon, Minister of Trade and Industry, to present the appointment letters to the committee members. I'll invite each member one at a time to collect their appointment letter on the stage, and then we'll facilitate a group photo right after that. Thank you very much. So we now invite Mr. Randall Karim, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the co-chair. Let's give him a round of applause. Congratulations. Mr. Corey Belfort, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Digital Transformation, co-chair. Congratulations. Dr. Dorian Noel, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much for your support. Mrs. Denise Chedi Ramsawak, Program Manager, Ministry of Finance. Thank you very much. Mrs. Shanaz Mohammed, Manager of Cashless Economy and Financial Inclusion, Trinidad and Tobago International Finance Center. I think we need to get an acronym for this one as well. Mr. Stuart Franco, Chief Executive Officer of the TSL Group and President of AmCham TNT. Ms. Lanka Manrique, Research Officer, Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, TTMA. And we acknowledge Ms. Vashti Gayadeen, Chief Executive Officer of Trinidad and Tobago, of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, who couldn't make it this morning. So we're standing by for the group photo, so we would like our photographers to... So we're going to set the... Do I need to move? Am I in the photo? You want me in the photo? Or? Thank you very much and congratulations to our committee members. Don't forget we have a meeting this afternoon and we have training in the morning. All right, so friends, as we conclude, let me thank all of you for your attendance, participation, and contributions today. It shows the value placed on and importance of this national e-commerce strategy, and we'd like to formally end the launch, and please invite Keyshawn Julian. He's an EPANist. Is that right there? It's an EPAN. E stands for electronic. In case you're wondering, it's not a note. And he will be on the stage and he will entertain us while we enjoy some light refreshments and, of course, catch up on the football last night and whatever else we want to catch up on and network a little bit. That was 4 beautiful goals. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It was a pleasure being your host this morning. Have a great morning and day. Thank you.
Check, check, testing. Good morning, all protocols observed. My name is Keyshawn Julian, and I'm here with the EPAN. So, Mr. DJ, you can run the track. Thanks very much.
It's autoclave beats. We bring Afro beats.